say our founder, the Saint County Foundation, was found based on the ideology and with the writings of Aldo Leopold. I don't know if any of you have heard of Aldo Leopold. He wrote a book that is called the Saint County Almanac. Saint County Almanac. If you get hold of that book, you may read it. You will find it very useful. And so we are a non-profit organization. We are nationwide. I'm in Florida, and Nikki is in Virginia. Later, Nikki will come and also give you a part that she supervised or works with. And we work mainly with conservation, soil health, and we have other programs, land ethic, and mentorship, and other stuff that I think you may find very useful. So this is the team that is working on our current project here in Alabama. Now, from time to time, you may meet some of them. Now, we are only 2 here, but I know you may meet the other. We've been seeing this in recent years a lot. When there is too much water, and if you have a farm, what you notice is that you have a pool of water in the field, and it takes a very long time for the water to reside, and it's become a problem, and it keeps on becoming a problem, especially now that the climate and the weather pattern is not predictable. And in other case, we find drought conditions which also affect the cropland, which is also a major issue that we've been seeing a lot more these days. And so I'm going to gear towards some practices that may cause some of the things that we are seeing, and some practices that will help you also to avert some of the negative impact of the weather conditions. So we find this to be some of the common practices in most of our farming field. We see continuous and intensive tillage practices, and in some cases, that is the only way that is the way you know, and we will present other ways that may also help, and if it's applicable to your field, that could also help you in the long run. And also, no cover crop use. Cover crop is such a good thing that I know sometimes the understanding is not there very well, so a lot of farmers turn their back on it, but we can really find a program that works for your field that you may begin to use cover crops. So some of the consequences, as I mentioned, we will find ponding if we continue with these practices that I've shown you the slide before. We may also find cracking in the field, especially when it's too dry. And also erosion. We find out that when it rains, all the water channel just pass through, and if you've already tilled your land and make it so loose, then it's easy for the rain to channel through, as we can see. And it has so many other consequences. You may now begin to apply more fertilizers than you are supposed to, because the land is degrading each time. And labor costs will also be high, because you may need to find time to refill all these areas of erosion and correct all these that the rain has put out there. However, there are other practices that can minimize or deal away with all these intensive tillage effects. And the first one is the use of cover crops. Cover crops we found to be very useful. It helped to reduce the impact of raindrop, so water can infiltrate slowly into your soil, which is very good. And it also creates a sponge in the soil, so your soil is able to hold water for a longer time, which I will show you more of it in the other slide. Also, leaving residue behind. If you are a farmer that this applies to you, I think this is also a very good practice that you can do. You don't have to take all the residue out, and that is it in intensive tillage, because if you are tilling, you are really removing the residue from the surface. And what this residue does is it controls weeds. It helps you not to apply fertilizer. So by the time weeds start appearing, your crop will already have that height that will cover and will shadow the weeds that are coming up, which will be very beneficial. And with all this, it helps you to save more. And also, no-till. If this also applied to your case, is a very good way to go. Minimum tillage or no-till will really help you. One, it will help you to save money, because all the passes you have to do, either you're doing with labor, you're buying fuel, and so many other things that goes to tillage. So if you are doing no-till, already you are saving a lot on that end. So what can be done to conserve our soil? We can also integrate livestock wherever applicable. Sometimes you have cover crops that is also edible or is also palatable to your animals. You can put your animals in that field and you can graze on a cover crop. It's double wing. You can also incorporate organic manure. And what all these does, the benefit of these is, one, it will help you to minimize the amount of fertilizer that you apply to your field. We've had so many examples from farmers who have been into these practices, and some do tell us that instead of, say, applying nitrogen, say 150 pounds per acre, they are now applying 80 pounds or even less. Phosphorus, some don't even apply anymore. Potassium, they've also cut into half. So, and we know farming fertilizer is one of the most expensive inputs that we have to deal with. If you are cutting the fertilizer inputs, then you are really saving more money on that end. So those are the benefits, that it suppress weeds, diversify crop to also improve infiltration and the biology of your soil. The biology is very important, because all these microorganisms, they help to break down all this carbon or the material, the plant materials that are in the soil, to release the nutrients out of them. And now your plants will benefit from these nutrients that the biology is making available for your plants. So it is very important that you conserve the soil to increase the microorganisms and the biology in the soil. And it helps to improve your soil structure as well. And all these images that I showed to you before, if you have an improved soil structure, as I said, it serves as a sponge. It helps to store more water, and now all the water infiltrates in, and it will take time, even during dry season or during drought, it will take time for the water to evaporate, and you will benefit from it more than doing otherwise. So with that, we define soil health. Soil health is the continued capacity of soil to function as a vital living ecosystem that sustains plants, animals, and humans. And so that is how the NRCS defines soil health. And they have some principles that guides anyone who wants to go into the soil health practices. And these practices or these principles are minimize soil disturbance, so minimum tillage or no till, maximize soil cover if you're using cover crops, maximize plant diversity, that is, you are not planting only one crop for over and over for a long period, you are changing or you are incorporating other crops as well, maximizing living roots or living plants, and you are integrating livestock wherever possible. But the last one is even the most important. You know your context, because all this information I'm giving you, there will be some that may not apply to your case, and some may. So the first thing is to know your context. If you know your context, then we can begin to talk about whichever of these can apply to you. So it is very important to do that. And some of the strategies: limit tillage operation, optimize the chemical inputs, plant cover crops, use organic mulch when possible. So now I will move to, let's say you are doing all these practices. How are you to monitor, or how will you monitor soil conditions? So the first thing will be soil analysis. It's very important, as we may have heard already. If you are farming, you don't just start applying fertilizer without knowing. Yes.